Hello again. Wanted to talk about an interesting little family of records and bands, I suppose, that just recently they've been on my front burner, so I just thought, it'd be interesting to maybe make a video about it. Let me explain how all this came about. Occasionally I get together with friends of mine, and we get together either in my music room or at their house or whatever and play music for each other. But one of the things we've sort of established, because we've been doing this fairly regularly for several years now, one of the things that we've sort of established is that we set up some categories or some themes for each other to play the music. I mean, it's great to get together and just play random songs all afternoon long, but what I'm talking about here is that we get together for an entire day of listening to music and having conversations. And sometimes it's just two of us, and then sometimes there's 5 or 6 people in the group. But we've established categories. We set up categories or themes ahead of time, and then we try to pick music to play for each other that's based on those themes or categories. We try to mix it up so that some of the categories are rather narrow, and then some of the categories are rather widespread, so as not to be too limiting. And the last time I got together, it was just with one of the friends of the group. Anyway, I just got together with him last time, and one of the categories that we had picked ahead of time was music from 1980. It had to be something that was recorded in 1980. And so, in the process of auditioning music that I had that came from 1980, I rediscovered the joys of an album that I want to share with you, and then that sort of, this album by this band takes off into a couple different tangents. So let me stop babbling and talk about what that is. The album that I played that was recorded in 1980 that I am now completely enamored with all over again. This came out when I was in high school, and I fell in love with it, and I thought it was an absolutely fantastic album. And then, over time, you get to listening to other things, and your tastes change, and so on and so forth. And there's so much music out there that, sometimes things get buried in the collection. Anyway, this category, and that's one of the cool things about these categories, is that it actually gives you the opportunity to dig through parts of your collection that you might not have otherwise paid much attention to, and thereby listening to things that have been buried for a while, which is kind of cool. This album was recorded in 1980. It is basically the first wave of ska revivalists, the English Beat. This band was just called The Beat in England, but because there was already a band called The Beat in America, they decided to call themselves the English Beat so as to distinguish. Again, ska revivalists, and damn fine ska revivalists. The band consisted of Dave Wakeling. I'll just hold that up in case it gets in the thumbnail bit. The band consisted of Dave Wakeling on vocals and guitar, Ranking Roger, someone who called himself Ranking Roger, on vocals, and Toasting, which is sort of the ska reggae version of rapping. Basically, that's what gave way to rap. Whole different story there, but rap was invented by the Toasters of Jamaica. Andy Cox on guitar, David Steele on bass, Everett Morton, I think, was the drummer's name, and a 50-year-old saxophonist called Saxa, who had actually played with some of the original ska bands like Prince Buster and Desmond Decker. Anyway, just an absolutely fantastic album. I cannot say enough about this. I mean, you could drop the needle anywhere on this album, and it's a great song. There is not a bad track on this album. I don't know how you feel about ska or ska revivalists like this, but this is just fantastic. I cannot say enough about this, and I love that artwork too. It's just some killer stuff. Anyway, that's 1980, the English Beat. I Just Can't Stop It. 1982, I think? 1981, sorry. 1981, What Happened? Their second album. This one's not quite as tight. It's still a good album. It's a little bit more reggae than it is ska. I don't know if you know the deal there, but essentially what reggae or roots reggae did was just slowed down the ska beat. So you had ska preceding reggae, and then some of the original Jamaican roots reggae artists, including Bob Marley, who has plenty of ska hits out there, slowed it down a bit. And slowing it down, it became roots reggae. But anyway, this is more of a roots reggae kind of album. Whoppin'. 1981. And then the third English Beat album, third and final English Beat album, called Special Beat Service. Still flavors of reggae and ska on this one, but this is pretty much a pop album. I Confess is one of the songs that's on here, and Save It for Later. If you've heard either one of those songs, you get a pretty good idea for how this album sounds. I still like it because I still feel these guys were fantastic musicians, and I really like the whole Dave Wakeling, Ranking Roger combination there out in front. So Special Beat Service. That was their last album. Essentially what happened at that point is that Dave Wakeling and Ranking Roger went off on their own without telling the rest of the band and formed General Public. And so they kind of left the other guys in the band hanging. As a matter of fact, I think Andy Cox and David Steele found out that they weren't in the band anymore when accountants got a hold of them about financial dealings. So, kind of sucks. But anyway, yeah, Dave Wakeling right there, Ranking Roger right there, General Public. This is 1984. Not a bad album, but you could tell that this is kind of where General Public was heading on Special Beat Service. Still a little bit of a flavor of that whole reggae thing going on. I think you almost can't help that when you have Ranking Roger in the band. Tenderness was the song off of this that most people tend to know. They hit off of this one. General Public then came out with Hand to Mouth in 1986. Kind of a flop for the band. I find myself wondering if people had just generally lost interest with what they were doing at that point. I'll be honest, I don't play that often. I will play All the Rage, which is the first General Public album, because I like some of the stuff on there. And, I mean, in fairness, I've played this. It's just that's not the one that I reach for when I want to hear this band. Then General Public broke up. And I think somewhere in 1988, Ranking Roger put out a solo album called Radical Departure. And it's not a bad album. I think Ranking Roger may have been the more political of the two in General Public and the English Beat, because some of these songs are fairly politically charged. But it's not a bad album. The reason, I guess, that I'm kind of hesitant and maybe a little bit soured on this is it's got that sort of typical, it was recorded in 1988, it's got that typical kind of 80s, the synth drums and all that kind of stuff, and the ultra bright, cheerful, poppy 80s thing that was happening there. Lyrically, I think it's a good album, and I still like what Ranking Roger is doing, but it leaves a little to be desired. Meanwhile, in the other direction, Andy Cox, the guitar player for English Beat, and David Steele, they got together with someone named Roland Gift and formed Fine Young Cannibals. So Fine Young Cannibals, this was 1985. It's a pop album, to be sure. Songs that you might know from here, Johnny Come Home, their version of Suspicious Minds. It's a pretty good album. I think Andy Cox and David Steele made a great choice in Roland Gift as a vocalist. That would be Roland Gift right there. I think they made a great choice with that because he's fantastic. This is definitely a pop album, but you almost can't help but get drawn in with Roland Gift's vocals. They're just fantastic. So anyway, that's the first Fine Young Cannibals album, 1985. And then the second Fine Young Cannibals album, The Raw and the Cooked. And this is 1988. This is the same year as that Ranking Roger solo album. And the song that most people would know, She Drives Me Crazy. Again, if you've heard that song, you have some idea what's on this album, the kind of music that's on this album. But again, I can't help but like this. Roland Gift's vocals. I mean, Andy Cox and David Steele are fantastic musicians to begin with. The original English Beat album, I Just Can't Stop It. This is by one of the tightest bands around at the time, and it included Andy Cox and David Steele. So when those guys formed this band, musically, there's no slouching going on there. And then you add Roland Gift, who just has an absolutely fantastic vocal delivery, and it's good stuff. Sometimes you want to hear something sort of candy, some sort of pop candy, and I don't like my pop candy to be too weightless, so that fits the bill pretty well. But anyway, I want to point this out again. I want to emphasize this. If you have any inclination whatsoever towards reggae, ska, second wave ska, pick this up. It's a fantastic album. You cannot go wrong with this album. Mirror in the Bathroom, Hands Off She's Mine, Twist and Crawl, their cover of Tears of a Clown, Ranking Full Stop. My God, there's just jackpot. Anyway, total recommendation there. I mean, even if you ignored all the other records in that pile, definitely pick this one up. One word of warning: if you pick it up on CD, the current reissue of this omits Tears of a Clown and Ranking Full Stop, so you actually pay more money and get less music, which is complete bullshit. I don't know who's in charge of that decision, but they need a smack in the back of the head. Try and find it on vinyl, and if you can't find it on vinyl, look for the used CD and make sure it's got Tears of the Clown and Ranking Full Stop on there, because you do not want to miss those songs. Every song on here is good, but those songs are freaking gems. So you don't want to miss that, and you don't want to miss that artwork either. Fantastic stuff. Pick that up. You won't regret it. I promise you. All right. Talk to you later.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.